Good afternoon, everyone. A hearty welcome once again to all the scholars who joined with us for this academic year, and respected Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, and all my faculty members here, Fraternity of Social Sciences, and research scholars who have come all the way from different parts and make it convenient to attend a very useful and interactive session because we are here with you for these 7 days to answer your queries and also to help you in process of a long journey which we have already discussed in the interactive session last time, to be with you and to help you and to conscientize with you the process of research, what is research, process of research, and methods, and a wide variety of the topics covered here. What is social science? Today I'm going to deal with this. Fundamentals of qualitative, quantitative, research ethics, scientific methods, and all the overall review of this case study methods and historical methods also is going to be there, and sampling, instrument data collection, research design, use of library sources and e-resources, and all the ethics of research. So in a nutshell, I joined late, but in a nutshell what I could guess from Ganda Chakrapani's presentation. So he covered almost all the aspects, right from choosing a question of a research problem to the data analysis and ethics. So all the covers almost he gave a nutshell view of it, and how to go about in research. Research is not a normal activity that anyone just can walk in into the PhD and then take a degree and go. Universities are not industries, as said by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Industries of producing certificates, but they are the knowledge hubs. So a degree makes you a responsible citizen and a kind of give you the knowledge, give you the power of knowledge to be a more responsible citizen in your country. So it has a more value-based than just a kind of practice of writing your dissertation or thesis and just get a degree and go out with a degree for this 4 or 5 years of journey in Ambedkar Open University. So again, a fear, as said by Kaniz, it's not a fear that a warning to all the scholars. Research in Ambedkar Open University is not going to be a simple process. It's not at all an easy process, because you might be thinking that most of them, they join and they do the research, and with the consent of supervisor, you get some sources and then you validate that source and data and present a dissertation which is disjointed or full of plagiarism comes in here, taking the sources without acknowledging, and also just putting all the things together and present to the supervisor. No. So you have to be extra careful in choosing the topic, right from choosing the topic to execute the topic and problem, and go about in research and then find solutions for the problem which you have faced, and then submit the thesis which is very meaningful and useful to the society. And research, we don't want to see it as an abstract thing. Research, we want to see it as an issue or an addition to the knowledge system which makes a difference to the existing domain of knowledge. Not just an addition to a book in the library, but results or the findings of your research have to be raise some questions or interest in next generations also, or the policy makers, or the readers which they read after you publish that. So this is precisely what with a kind of small suggest, rather a caution also. I go about in my topic And yeah, this question everyone needs to pose to themselves. Why research? Why you want to do research? Please answer. Why research? Why you are doing? Why you joined in a PhD program? Anyone? Anyone?
Find out the solution to particular problem.
Yeah, and then few more answers, like not only one reason, and many reasons are there.
Expertise in subject area.
Okay, and
Research is a thirst of knowledge, no?
good, and
To find something which was hidden in the time.
fine. Very cautiously you are giving answers.
To fill the gap between knowledge, madam.
Yeah, okay, and quest for knowledge, fill the gaps. And to fill the gap, what you need to know, the existing knowledge, what to fill, in a vacuum or existing domain of knowledge. Yeah. So you need to have a thorough understanding of what's going on in the society as a researcher. Unless and until you know the problems of society or as a social scientist, you just can't fill any gap. Rather, you will become a gap. So that is the thing which is also a quality, a way to improve the quality of life or the situations, because social scientists have a very, very great responsibility of reflect the society, what's going on in the society, and how you find a solution for the existing situations or the problems or any situations you encounter in day-to-day life or in this thing. So we are researchers prior to joining in university or in one is a researcher in everyday life. We do find answers, seek solutions for this in our day-to-day lives also. To purchase anything or to go about anywhere, we do a kind of research, like questions we pose, what kind of product to be purchased and what kind of way to go and all. So this kind of issues is different from how you entered into the universities. So a general researcher is different, a social scientist is different. So you think from the solutions. So coming to the topic which I was talking about, prior to going about social sciences, I just want to post a little light on the research and how to go about. It's an addition to the knowledge, research, and find a solution, find the truth, and what kind of issues to be taken up, what problems to be taken up, and scientific research is how it is different from the other research areas. So it is to establish the fact. The aim of scientific research is to establish the fact, and the scientific inquiry also. It's an inquiry. It's a question you are posing to yourself, posing to the thesis, and how you are reason out in posing certain questions, and deductive, abductive reasons, and all. You will be knowing in future classes of it, and any research should have a set of certain qualities. What are the qualities? A set of philosophies or a paradigm and reliability. Whatever you research upon or whatever the results you derive upon should have a reliability and the validity also. It has to be validated and unbiased. This is what we tend to do in our research, we belong to certain particular region. So I think most of the questions last time when we asked that, a study of Nalgonda, a study of Warangal district in history, I'm talking about a study of certain particular district, and when we ask them, why you have chosen the topic, they say that, yeah, we belong to that region. So this kind of, regionalism or kind of, biases we need to dispense with. We need to remove that total biases. And it has to be an objective. So what is the opposite of subjective is objective. Independent from the personal characteristics or your regional characteristics or your religious affiliations, it has to be an unbiased and objective kind of a research. So we have to keep in mind while doing the research. Again, we pose the question, what is research? Research, it's a way of thinking. You might have, some of you answered and some of this thing. A habit of questioning. A child poses several questions to the mother. Sometimes we answer, sometimes to the parents, and sometimes we tend to ignore it. But that inquisitiveness of knowing something from the life situations starts in the beginning itself, when we start our journey as a child. So this questioning brings in various answers to the problems which they pose. So a questioning is a prerequisite for research. A questioning and to systematic examination. It's not just randomly questioning yourself or to the problem, posing a problem, but systematically finding solution or answers to the question. And a search for knowledge, it's a search, it's a quest for knowledge, and that by a systematic investigations. There are certain set of rules, there are certain set of codes for investigating, so that we need to adopt. And investigation, experimentation aimed at the discovery and the interpretation of the facts, revision accepted theories, and laws on the light of new facts. So 3 areas are there. First, discovery of the new things, from the known to the unknown, from what we know to the unknown aspects. And then revision, the second one is that revision of the established fact, and the laws or theories in the light of the new facts. So there are 2 ways of following it. One, we follow certain theory and put it into practice, and the other way in social sciences we can do is vis-a-vis, putting the practices into the theories which are established theories and finding a solution to it. So this can be taken both ways. So here, what are the types of the research? So again, you'll be knowing in the next classes. I'll just brush through and then go to the social sciences. The types of research, some of the research are application oriented, pure research, applied research, and the objectives of this research are, sometimes descriptive analysis of any issue or any problem, or correlational, or compare between one variable to the others, and discuss relationship with others, with associations, interdependence between 2 different variables, and explanatory. So explain the situation which is prevalent. The pandemic, for example, the variables in the pandemics, how one of the variable and after another variable, how it is affecting and transforming into itself is an explanation to what had happened, the impact of the pandemic on the lives of the people. And exploratory, new things. What is the impact of it, and how we can prevent, or how we can address the new situation, explore the things that is undiscovered. So far we have not discovered. Every day some research is happening. Every second, some innovations are happening. So that unexplored things is exploratory. And inquiry, it's we go about in research inquiring the things, the facts. So how we do it through questionnaires, administering flexible process, more able to explore participatory observations, and there are several ways of reaching the solutions. And quantitative and qualitative analysis also. Structured and strict process is required in this. So we need to measure the data, validation is to be measured, and how we go about into the finding a solution for this. So this entire process requires a lot of rigorous exercise as a researcher to reach about the results. And social sciences. What is science first? First we need to know that science and social sciences. Science is as an epistemological word. It is derived from the Latin word scientia. It means a knowledge. So social science is knowledge of the people, because it's a study of the people, study of the institution, study of the group, study of the behavioral patterns of any institution or groups. So social science and science, as just said by Chakrapani, like, there is a thin line now, but earlier it used to be very hard and fast, like, science means, pure science, and there are three variations in this science: natural sciences, that is physical sciences, and earth sciences, agriculture and all, and the third one is life sciences. So it is further divided into three aspects. And but when it comes to the social sciences, you all know all the subjects, disciplines we talk about is a science of the people. It's a science of the people, and a collection of the groups, societies, economies, their behaviors, or their progress, and the behavioral patterns, and that everything comes under this social sciences. So I'll just come to the scientific difference, like, the difference between these two now. But before that, social sciences is defined as a scientific behavior, study of human behavior, and social interactions between the groups, different groups, and comprises the various disciplines, as you all know, that economics, social, psychology, and political science, all the disciplines put together. Now we come to the difference between the science and the social science. Is there any difference like that? There is a narrow kind of a thing. People say that social science is not scientific, or earlier there used to be criticism, but now it is not much to be. Because whatever principles or theories and science have, even social sciences, the theories are there. Henry Poincaré, the philosophy of science, he talks that the natural sciences, that is the sciences which he mentions, talk about their results, because in laboratory or in any this thing, they take the variable and test it and find a result, and the social sciences talk about their methods. So this was very a traditional kind of looking at the things. It was very old rendering, but that's how they used to see this. And but there are certain other definitions also. Let's see that how, yeah, how Bertrand Russell. Again, I'm talking about way back as a history of student. Like I just. We'll go back and see that how it used to be earlier. The fundamental concept in social sciences is power. Power dominates or dictates anything. You have seen the empires. History of India is full of the for survival of the fittest. Like how powerful the empire is, and it ruled for longer days. And people-centric approach was not there in the beginning. But now we study in history the people's history of India or any other empires, and Greek civilization or other civilization in ancient India in the medieval times also. Entire history is revolving around the empires and their kings and kingdoms, and how they behave, what are the wars they waged, and how the kind of a linkage is not established between the how people felt about those empires and what is their reactions, their life histories. But it was again power centric related. And in the same sense, when energy, he talks about physics, how energy is very important, fundamental to physics. Same thing, power is fundamental concept of social science. Henry Charles Carey also, he talks of man is a molecule of society as a subject of social sciences. Man, the molecule of society. He says that in the element and is a subject in social sciences, man is man-centric, people-centric. They used a man and gender. Again, any example in ancient, like in modern times also, the centric approach which they connotates is with a man, not human beings. But we change that later. While physics and mathematics may tell us how universe began, they are not much in use predicting human behavior. It is said by Stephen Hawking. So there is a point here. So because the sciences precisely talks about the results, how universe began, and what are the age of the universe and how the evolution took place and all. But human behavior was not quantified. It can't be like, they say that there are several variables to test that behavior, human behavior. So science tells only the beginning or the evolution, but the behavioral terms, like, science is silent about. So there are still more comparisons between science and social sciences. People say that, science is precise, accurate, because the samples which they have taken and the kind of, the results they derive, deterministic and completely deterministic. But social science also, like, they derive the results, but relative accuracy. And because every kind of a thing is interpreted in different way. So one aspect, I'll take any example, you take any in the society, like, how a government policies can be interpreted in different ways by the different sections of the people, whether it is in central or state, or those who are for it, they talks about differently, or the policies, results of the policies also, the welfare policies or any policies, is interpreted in a different ways. So, body of laws and theories are based on evidence. Here, science, they talk more about the evidence-based research it is. And even evidence is very much required in social sciences, but based on interpretation of the theories and human behavior and society. One particular principle cannot be ascribed to the behavior. So when you study the human behavior in psychology also, happiness, human happiness, when we talk about it, how to measure the happiness? That might be different to the various other people. One feels happy with the small things they get, or one feels happy with the bigger targets they put. So that's how depend on the human behavior, how they behave and how they derive the conclusions of it. So interpretations varies here. But in science, the result is precise and accurate, and you can talk about it. And if anyone wants to decide about, talk about it, for example, later I'll come to this, the body of laws and theories. Newton's law, still it is in vogue, like, certain additions are there, Newton's motion of law, like in the first and second and third laws. So that kind of an laws, proposition of the laws, which is sometimes can be contested, or sometimes, but the universalize the principles are more seen in sciences. Here, every social science is dynamic, ever changing, as per the situations, as per the social change, as per the interpretations of the theorists or the social scientists. So this is how we could see that the difference between the two. And replicability and precision. If you want to repeat a science principle, again, you can, if one in the Africa or one scientist in India, they derive the same results because the principle is the same, the laws are the same. But here, subjected to change. Social sciences, everything will change as per its requirement. So, research design in the social sciences and sciences, what is the difference between these two? Earlier we talked that, the general observation about the science and social science. Here, if one wants to make an observation, that is selecting a problem, selection is made in science as well as in social science also. So there's no much difference in between making an observation. Formulate a hypothesis. Just now, I think you must have heard about hypothesis formulation. Hypothesis, what is it, hypothesis? Anyone wants to tell? A statement, it can be in the form of statement, it can be in the form of question, it can be a form of an inquiry. So, hypothesis can be in any form, but it's a possible prediction of the results which you are going to seek, the answers which you are going to seek. So it can be, a hypothesis can be a positive hypothesis or it can be a null hypothesis. You can defute it or you can establish it. When you pose a question, when you formulate a hypothesis, you formulate with the assumptions based on your own assumptions or assumption based on the existing domain of the knowledge or assumptions based on the sources which you have collected. But this assumption might not carry it throughout your research. That's what I want to say. It might not carry throughout the research. As long as you seek the solutions, answers to the problems, you might not be knowing about how a hypothesis which you propose is going to be a correct or not. So, formulation of hypothesis and observation in sciences you can do, and as well as you can do in the social sciences also. So history, like some of the most of my students previous years, they used to ask that why hypothesis. Yes, it is not required also. To some of the problems, when you make a descriptive analysis, when you make an historical using the historical method, posing the question is not always required for all the research. It is required when you use the data and validate it and establish a result. So, or when you want to pose a question, exploratory research, then the hypothesis is required. So there is a session, I think, on hypothesis in later class. We'll discuss more about it in later. So formulating the hypothesis is required in sciences as well as in social sciences. And third step, make a prediction based on hypothesis. Yes, we do predict. Hypothesis is an assumption, it's a prediction. So we make a prediction based on hypothesis. And again, in social sciences, we do make a prediction about something, and what we should expect it to hypothesis is correct. So if the hypothesis is going to be correct, and what we expect from that. So that is also true in science as well as in social sciences. So the final stages of science or social sciences, testing the hypothesis, testing the predictions of hypothesis using experiment. Whatever experiment you name, like whatever tools you adopt, but we test the hypothesis and validate it. In science, we do the same. In social sciences also, we do the same. Then where lies the difference? That is a question, like where lies the difference between the science and the social science? Because as long as you follow the scientific method, see, there are certain predictions in sciences, like we can't say the science is more accurate. We just can't say that, As per the gravitational force, something falls down, like anything, any object goes to up, should fall down. But an apple, for example, but I'll catch it. Anything, but I'm obstructing it. So as per the gravitational force, it has to fall down. But some other force stronger than the gravitational pull is obstructing. Interpretation is as good as for science as well as for social science. First World War, Second World War, we have seen. First World War, everyone thought no more war. So there were treaties and lot of things stopping, and peace treaties, and leaders, they opposed, the world leaders and the people, the common people, they opposed the war. And then again they strongly felt that no more war in 1914. But again in 30s, another world war. And now what we are witnessing is a silent war. Later Cold War, now it's a silent war. Silence by the leaders, silence, strategic silence by all the powers of this world about the exploitation of the one strong person and on some weaker person. Again, the power relationship. So what had a country, developed country, to do with the independence of other country? I'm talking about Russia and Ukraine. So nothing to do with them, because their territory is different and they got the independence. They are free to do what they want to do as per their constitution, as per their laws. But why this again aggression? So we failed to learn lessons in history. That's what I would like to say. We fail to learn from history. History teaches lessons. History teaches lessons, but again, the science also teaches lessons. If science also something fails, again the principle is stopped. And in social science, if something fails also, again, history repeats itself. So again, a war kind of a situation is prevailing in the world. So both are similar. What I am trying to say is that whether it is a science or the social science, the kind of forces that dominate the society and the kind of natural elements which natural principles, laws and theories, they also obstructs, and here also we can stop the events in future. So war could not be stopped consecutively for 3 times, and again here also the laws and principles we just can't, we can avoid it. So what I would like to say is that in sciences or social sciences, a kind of set of principles or theories can be validated, can be tested, and can be changed in future, whether it is a science or social science. So this is how it happens: making an observation, posing a hypothesis, formulating prediction, and predictions, testing the predictions. It's the same for science or social science. That means a scientific method is followed. As long as scientific method is followed in both the disciplines, it's one and the same. Because the scientific method we are following now in our social sciences also. So that set of scientific method, we just can't say that one is superior than the other. Research methods are similar for humanities, for social sciences, for arts, but little variations and management. That's why we propose to have a common class for all the disciplines in the beginning. We used to have a common class for methodology class. But later, each and every faculty want to have a kind of, separate classes for them, so we divided. In the beginning, we used to conduct the class for all disciplines, all the faculties. And scope of social sciences. Yeah. What is the scope? Is there any limit to this? Scientific tool to study and analyze social problems. We have defined social science research as a scientific tool to analyze and study. And social scientists records and collect significant facts and figures of social problems. So we observe the process in the society, how a society goes about, and how to make a change in the society. So I'm again and again bringing societal problems, because we take a problem not for the research sake. As a social scientist, because as a practitioner also, in social science as well as in the society, I'm an activist too. I'm very actively involved in the societal process, being making some change. I can't say that I'm making a change, see change through my actions. But I reflect in the society. But what to be done in research is translating. I have an advantage. One of my science colleagues used to say that whatever research we have to do, we have to go to the laboratories and do it. But a social scientist has an immense opportunity of getting the benefit of research. See, you are the link between the society and the research. The new research I'm talking about. And the new changes, or you want to be changed yourself, you reach out the society, or you translate the theoretical results into the society, reach out the community, or it can be done in other way also. You identify the problems in the society, in the community, in the groups, in the associations, bring them as a research problem. It can be done both ways. So either you translate the theoretical knowledge existing domain to the society. Adhamainda? రీసెర్చ్ అంటే ఎట్లా అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఒక థియరీ తీసుకొని ఒక హ్యూమన్ బిహేవియర్లో మనం చేంజ్ చేస్తే బాగుంటుంది, మానవాళికి చాలా మంచిది ఇది అనుకునేదాన్ని ఒక థియరీ చేసిన ఒక పెద్ద రీసెర్చర్ని తీసుకొచ్చి మనం సొసైటీకి ఎవరికైతే ఏ కామన్ పీపుల్కి అయితే అవసరమో ఆ కామన్ పీపుల్కి మనం అర్థం చేయడం, లేదా కామన్ పీపుల్ సొసైటీలో ఉన్న సమస్యల్ని తీసుకొని పేదరికం కానీ అజ్ఞానం కానీ లేకపోతే అక్కడ అంటరానితనం కానీ అన్టచబిలిటీ కానీ ఇంకా వేరియస్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ భేదాలు కానీ లేకపోతే రీజనలిజంని ఒక లుకింగ్ డౌన్ అపాన్ కమ్యూనిటీ మైనారిటీస్ ఇష్యూ రేషియల్ డిస్క్రిమినేషన్ ఇవన్నీ ఇష్యూస్ని ఏదైతే కమ్యూనిటీస్లో ప్రాబ్లంగా ఉన్నాయో వాటిని తీసుకెళ్ళి నువ్వు రీసెర్చ్లో తీసుకెళ్ళి దాన్ని థియరైజ్ చేయడం. ఈ రెండు కూడా బోత్ హెల్ప్స్ ఇన్ enhancing the knowledge. So it is interdependent. The purpose of research నేను ఎప్పుడు చెప్తాను, it has more elaborate or more stronger reason than just getting a degree. Purpose of research ఎట్లా ఎప్పుడైతే ఫైనల్ అవుతుందంటే మీ థీసిస్ సబ్మిట్ చేసి మీరు డిగ్రీ పొందినప్పుడు కాదు. రీసెర్చ్ ఎవరికైతే కమ్యూనిటీస్ ఫర్ ట్రైబల్స్ యు ఆర్ వర్కింగ్ ఆన్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ గోండ్స్ మీద మీరు పరిశోధన చేస్తున్నారు, ఎవరికైతే ఆ ట్రైబల్ కమ్యూనిటీస్ మీద వర్క్ చేస్తున్నారో వాళ్ళ జీవితాల్లో మార్పు కోసం ఒక పాలసీ చేంజ్ కింద ట్రాన్స్లేట్ అయ్యేంత గొప్పగా ఉండాలి రీసెర్చ్. దట్స్ హౌ వీ షుడ్ కీప్ ఇన్ మైండ్ అండ్ సెట్ గోల్స్ ఫర్ ఇట్ ఇన్ రీసెర్చ్. సో దిస్ ఈస్ హౌ ఐ లుక్ అపాన్ a scientific tool. A scientist records and collects significant facts and figures to the social problems and makes possible generalizations. So generalization సాధారణీకరణలు జనరలైజేషన్ చేస్తాడు ఒక సోషల్ సైంటిస్ట్, ఒక హిస్టోరియన్ చేస్తాడు. బేస్డ్ ఆన్ వాట్? బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ద ఎగ్జిస్టింగ్ ఫ్యాక్ట్స్. యు ఆర్ నాట్ ఫ్రీ టు జస్ట్ ఒక లిటరేచర్ పర్సన్ లాగా నీ ఊహకి అంతం లేకుండా ఏదైనా ఊహించుకొని రాయలేము. Basic difference between a literary person and a social science researcher or any researcher is that, or history, we look through the facts, we look to the issue through the lens of all the facts. ఆ దృష్టికోణం నుంచి వాస్తవాల దృష్టికోణం నుంచే మనం చూస్తాం. Otherwise we can't derive anything out of it. So it is the events. Depends on the nature of the events. Second aspect is knowledge building. The first aspect of scope of research is knowledge building. How we build the knowledge? Research inputs extend to the existing knowledge. మూడు విధాలుగా జరగవచ్చమ్మా. ఫస్ట్ ఉన్నదానికి మనము ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్ళిపోవడం. ఇప్పుడున్న ఒక ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏదైనా ఒకటి, ఇప్పుడు కోవిడ్ మీద రీసెర్చ్ ఉంది, దాన్ని ఇంకొంచెం ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్తాం. మీ దృష్టికోణం నుంచి దాన్ని ఏంటంటే పీపుల్స్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలో చూడలేదు, సైంటిఫిక్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలో ఎక్కువ చూస్తున్నారు. అసలు హెల్త్ మీద ఏం ఇంపాక్ట్స్ అవుతున్నాయి, హౌ ఇట్ ఈస్ క్రియేటింగ్ ఎ ప్రాబ్లమ్ టు ద నెక్స్ట్ జనరేషన్స్, కమింగ్ జనరేషన్స్. What happens to the child in the womb when the mother gets COVID, and then what implications she's going to face after that when she grows up? So that research అది ఇంకా జరగలేదు. సో ఎగ్జిస్టింగ్ రీసెర్చ్కి ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్ళి we go further adding to the existing knowledge and serve as a scale of verification of existing knowledge, domain of knowledge. First thing is adding. Second thing is scaling. How much this knowledge is correct or how much it is incorrect, or what can be done to change to this existing knowledge. So this kind of verifying or scaling can also be done in this knowledge building. Second one is study of social problems. Again and again we are discussing the same problem. So social problems. What is a social problem? How to look to that problem? Accurate and unbiased analysis. I was in the beginning of my talk I was talking about pakshapata dhorani vadalali. You are not belong to the aspect which you are talking about. You are an independent being. You are just away from that. ఏ టాపిక్ తీసుకుంటారో, వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆన్ తెలంగాణ, వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆంధ్ర, వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆన్ ట్రైబల్స్, వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆన్ దళిత్స్, వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆన్ women working on women, You're not a woman here there, you're a researcher. You're not a tribal there, you're a researcher. You're not a Dalit over there, you're a researcher. Yes, definitely, your point of view is different being a Dalit, addressing the Dalit problems. But that biases should be removed. So, accurate, unbiased analysis to understand the factors responsible for that. So, this is how we need to expand the scope of it. And third one is theory making and policy making. That is a scope of research, like social science research. It is useful for both, for formulating a theory and as well as for addressing or helping the policy framing. See, in any Dalit Bandhu scheme or any other scheme, you have something to add, or you want to, or any other scheme which is not existing now, but your findings of your results or certain areas, they lack certain facilities, so you suggest the policy makers to address that issue. So through your study, if it is a very scientific study, taking the samples, not a single there, కొంతమంది ఏమంటారంటే మేము ఇక్కడ ఈ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్లో నుంచి వచ్చినాము, ఇక్కడ వర్క్ చేస్తున్నాను, నేను ఇక్కడ టీచర్గానో ఇంకెక్కడనో, నేను ఇక్కడ ఈ శాంపుల్ని తీసుకుంటా ఈ చుట్టుపక్కల. నో, యూ కాంట్ డిరైవ్ ఎనీ రిజల్ట్స్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్. కంపారిటివ్ అనాలిసిస్ తీసుకొని ఒక అండర్ డెవలప్డ్ ఏరియా తీసుకొని, ఒక డెవలప్డ్ ఏరియా తీసుకొని, లేకపోతే ఎక్కడ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ మోర్ ఉన్నాయని తీసుకొని, ఎక్కడ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ లెస్ ఉన్నాయో తీసుకొని, వీటన్నిటిని చేసి ఈ కండిషన్స్ ఈ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్కి దారి తీస్తాయి కాబట్టి దీనికి అడ్రస్ చేయడానికి నేను డిఫరెంట్ వేరియబుల్స్ తీసుకొని ఒక లార్జర్ స్కేల్ తీసుకొని దాన్ని నేను శాంపుల్ తీసుకొని స్టడీ చేస్తాను. సో దట్స్ హౌ యూ కెన్ ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ అ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ accurate result to be useful for the policy framers. The policy makers should make a note of it, and your research should be in such a way that that is acceptable, verifiable and acceptable to the policy makers also, not only your supervisor. సో అట్లా ఉండాలి సోషల్ ఇష్యూస్ తీసుకునేటప్పుడు. అలాంటి అంత స్కోప్కి మీరు వెళ్ళగలిగేంత పాసిబిలిటీ సోషల్ సైన్సెస్లో ఉంది. What are the characteristics of social science research? Social science research is a controlled research because you just can't go about doing this here and again cut short it and then go to the other aspects, and it's a controlled, it's a structured way of learning things, knowing the solution to the problem. And cause and effect relationship has to be, కార్యకారణ సంబంధాలు అంటారు కదా, ఒక యాక్ట్ ఒక పని జరగడానికి ఒక కాజ్ ఉంటుంది, ఆ కాజ్ని ఐడెంటిఫై చేయాలి, దాన్ని బట్టి నువ్వు ఏది జరిగిందో అనే దాన్ని ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేయాలి. సో దిస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ cause and effect and cause both are vis-a-vis and vice versa, and one should minimize the effort and factors rather than want to measure. See, if you go on addressing a lot of factors, you might not do justice to all the factors. Minimize it. Deductive logic. You, from among the hundreds of the factors, you derive 10 or 5 factors and address them. Minimize them and find solution to them. And in social sciences, you have to measure as many. See, there is a chance to measure many, but the ideal way, scientific way, is to minimize the factors. It's a rigorous exercise. The character of the social science is a rigorous one. Every day you need to pose questions to you and then find an answer. Every day it has to be revolved in your mind how to go about next, what is next. And systematic, one should follow the certain logical sequence. You just can't give freedom to your thoughts. It has to be logical consequence. It's a systematic way, and it has to be a valid result and verifiable result. Whatever results you get, anyone can contest it, anyone can question it, and then establish it. And it has to be empirical, evidence-based, empirical in nature. So, and it has to be a critical procedures and conclusion have to be withstand the critical scrutiny. See, don't think that you just write and close it and then submit to the supervisor. Supervisor is not here to accept what you write. It has to stand a critical scrutiny by the supervisor, by the HOD, by the dean, by the director, and then 3 experts, the thesis goes to the 3 experts. They'll scrutinize and they can reject the thesis. You know that, no? Experts can reject the thesis. Then again, you have to work from the scratch. And some are very generous in giving some suggestions, and you incorporate the suggestions and then submit. But most of the experts, like subject experts, external evaluators, they see, some might think that, okay, my supervisor knows someone and, they can influence. No, it's not done. Not in open university. So please keep it in mind that, it has to withstand the critical analysis. X-ray ki ఎట్లా అయితే మీరు దాన్ని ప్రతి ఒక్కటి చూస్తారో సూక్ష్మంగా, అంతే విధంగా థీసిస్ చూడబడుతుంది. అండ్ ఆఫ్ లేట్ ప్లేజరిజం 8% బిలో ఉండాల. తీసుకొచ్చేసి థీసిస్ అంటే తీసి వేసేది కాదు. It is not a thing people just laugh away by saying that okay, you can bring in several aspects and just put together, stitch together and submit. No. And it has to be a rigorous exercise, and this is a rigorous exercise is a characteristic of social science research and research design in social sciences. How we design, see, this is same for the scientific method which I have told you. Make an observation, formulate it, make predictions, test the predictions, find, gather, use data to test the observation implications. This I have already told you in scientific method. What are the functions? There varies very lot of functions are there. First, to begin with, discovery of facts and their interpretations. So discovery of the problems. So when we talk about the civilizations in 18th and 19th centuries, so many discoveries have made. Indus Valley civilization, Egypt, Greece, and all the ancient civilization. What we know till now has changed completely. So it went to further back of the history. I'm talking just about history. But various ways of this, nationalism, regionalism, communalism, all this, they are the discovery of some of the scientists, social scientists, who put into practice and who theorized and discovered some kind of making a link to the existing society. And systemization of the existing body of knowledge. Systemization of the existing body of knowledge. How we systematize with our theories, with the practices, with the laws. So that is up to us. And dissemination of the knowledge. How you disseminate the knowledge. That is very important. That is one of the crucial function of the social sciences. What all we know is what all the theories proposed by the theorists, social scientists, have to disseminate to the people. So there is a method of dissemination. There is a practice of dissemination. So that is also we need to understand. And fighting for the truth. See, truth is relative. Everyone says that truth is not an abstract thing, not a permanent one. Relative of truths are there. The fighting for the truth, establishing the logical validity of an approach. See, establishing a logical validity to the truth which you are talking about. The exploitation of the poor and the poverty of the masses. See, in spite of the various policy decisions, the poverty is not mitigated. It has reduced but not stopped. పేదరిక నిర్మూలన పథకాలు 75 ఏళ్ల నుంచి వస్తున్నాయి భారతదేశంలో. పూర్తిగా మాయమైందా? అమర్త్య సేన్ వీళ్ళందరూ కూడా చాలా ప్రపోజ్ చేశారు. ఎందుకు మాయం కాలేదు? ఎకానమిస్ట్ వల్ల అయిందా? ఎకానమిస్ట్ వల్ల ఎందుకు కాలేకపోయింది? వై అమర్త్య సేన్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ సోషల్ డిఫరెన్సెస్? ఇక్కడ పేదరికం అనే దానికి కులం ఉంది అని చెప్పాడు ఆయన. పేదరికానికి ప్రాంతం కూడా ఉంది అని చెప్పాడు. కరువుకి కులం ఉంటుంది, మీకు ఆ విషయం తెలియలేదు. కరువు నివారణ చర్యల్లో కూడా అక్కడ ఉంటుంది. కరువు ఏదైనా కానీ ప్రతిదీ ఇండియన్ సొసైటీ ఈజ్ సచ్ ఎ వెరీ కాంప్లికేటెడ్ సొసైటీ వేర్ you'll find all the kinds of malign things like caste, class, gender. జెండర్ అనేది అంత త్రూఅవుట్ వరల్డ్ ఉంది, కానీ క్లాస్ ఉండొచ్చు కాక, కానీ బట్ 100% ఇక్కడ కాంట్రడిక్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, చాలా డిఫరెన్సెస్ ఉన్నాయి. సో ఈ డిఫరెన్సెస్ని అడ్రస్ చేయడానికి, ఈ ట్రూత్ని ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేయడానికి లాజికల్ వ్యాలిడిటీ సోషల్ సైన్స్ ఇస్తుంది. దట్స్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ది ఫంక్షన్స్ ఆఫ్ ది సోషల్ సైన్సెస్. సో we tend to find these contradictions and validate it. One thing involve asking the right questions on a right time, posing the right question at the right time. So again, hypothesis is not just simply posing a question. It's not. We have to pose the right question to the right issue which we want to identify. Fashioning tools that can find answers to them with economy and precision. So we need to identify the tools to validate the facts, data, and then find answers, try to find answers to them. And generating ideas characterized by the adequacy of explanation and reliability. See, here much depends on the interpretation. See, facts are available, you got the facts, and you got the sources, but much exercise is needed in interpretation of the facts. That's how a researcher's skill is. Chakapati talked about several skills. That's how a researcher's skill is tested here in interpreting or giving the theory or interpreting the facts which you have gathered. And this understanding would bring into focus the problem and illuminate alternative paths of action with an estimate of their cost and consequences. If it is economy, how a cost analysis is made, how the consequences are derived from certain issues. So this understanding is bring into the focus how we look into the things. So this is how we could see the functions of the social science research. Coming to the significance of social science research in the contemporary world, social sciences are relevant to the rich nations as well as to the poor nations, because now I think people have a very wrong opinion of saying. Yesterday someone was talking about, and I felt very odd to listen about it. They say that there is an analysis, or someone is talking about if 100 students are there, the top layer will go to the science and technology and engineering, and the second will go to the applied pure sciences or some other natural sciences, or commerce and management, third line, and the last line, it's leftover things, they'll opt for social science. This myth is I think still is in vogue. Most of it, like yesterday we had a discussion with the AOC Center people. Then they started talking that this myth used to be there when we studied, those who get less than 50% or not. And there is a this is a generalization they make, but might be there are exceptions. I have chosen social sciences out of my choice, not I don't have any choice, but I was a school top and 96% in sciences, but opted social sciences for preparing for civil services. That's a different issue. Exceptions must be there. Relevant to the rich nations as well as because it has to be a social science. Yeah, I'm talking about this, that social scientist role is much limited in the present day context. There are times social scientists rule the world. In much developed nations in America, still European nations, social scientists, French Revolution, you take it, Rousseau, all these philosophers who ruled rather they were indirectly responsible for the revolution. So that was the kind of contributions of these scientists, social scientists during that time. But now, a kind of, one silence is there again. I'm talking about when you contest the nation, sorry, not the nation. When you contest the party, you're termed as an anti-nation. So the voice is submerged, like, it has been, the voice, we could, earlier in 70s, 60s, we have a strong voice of the people, social scientists especially, talking about raising their voice against the exploitation, raising their voice about the state, against the state, raising their voice, bringing the problems to the government notice. But now, of late, I think, we are not seeing that fiery voices of social scientists, because though it is very much relevant and accurate and apt, responding to the situations of the state and the nation, the social scientists' voices have been slowed down, rather. They are not slowed down, but the forces, the power dictates the knowledge. That's how we could see it. Indirectly, I'm talking about how kind of silence is seen in this contemporary world. We can't say that there are no problems, but their problems are there, but raising voices have been hushed up. So this is the relevance of social sciences are very much useful for the nations to develop, not to be static. We are going back to the stated kind of, the history has risen like a graph falling down again. Again, narrowed based of regionalism, narrow based of communalism, narrowed based of the casteism, and all kind of things. The problems which have raised our voice, again we are going back, falling back to the pavilion. So this kind of the rich contributions of social sciences for all the nations is the significance of it, and concrete social economic data to provide realistic base for planning. So as long as we have a problem or pose a problem, a research issue, and find solution to it, as the solution is not done by everyone. See, people here, most of the researchers, they want to go for the known things. Even I am asking my history students to go to the archives. Please dig out history. Go to the archives. As students, as scholars, we used to visit the National Archives. I think I have spent thousands of hours in National Archives, Delhi. I have a provision, I have a privilege of being in JNU and then going to the National Archives, and I have visited all the archives of the different states. I have visited the Vettapalam Library in Prakasham district also. Not only the national libraries, national archives. But how many of us have the time to visit those? See, we have time. That time also we don't have time. But we have found time, find some time to research, and that quest of passion for research made us to go tour all over. The topic which I have chosen is women's history. And Telangana women's history, especially I'm talking about 30 years back. No history, written history was there. I went to the people, got recorded some of the interviews, again to the records and reports and archives and people's memories and all. It was a big, huge exercise of 6 years. But and see, why I'm telling I'm not finding fault with the generation, but you have to do that. And that's how original research emerges out of your pain and out of your passion. These two are very important, passion and pain together. See, you have to take in this kind of, bear this pain also of producing an unknown thing. So, a kind of, concrete social economic data to provide a realistic base for the planners to plan, to find solutions. And scientific understanding of social phenomena, especially the emerging trends. See, I'm talking about again bringing COVID. This is a reality we are facing it. So, but how much research is available? In spite of 3 years of suffering, we went back to our homes like, cocoons. We went back and we expressed and we can't do anything. education institutions stopped down, all offices closed down, lockdown. Yes, day before yesterday, 24th was a lockdown day. So one of my friend wrote a poem like, that lockdown, the pains of lockdown, how we are made helpless. But is there any solution? So the scientists need to explore for further not going into the dark ages of, doing nothing, just for the becoming the prey of the nature. So this kind of, and unknown things have to be come out of the youngsters' research. What is the relevance of social science research? Yeah. Social science research throws a valuable background from which the planner can make own assessment and prevailing the situations. It throws a valuable background from which the planner can make an assessment of prevailing the situation. And carefully designed analytical studies can illuminate critical areas of policies also. We can focus some of the unexplored areas to the planners. Like, these are the area which, when you plan your budget, when you go for the welfare policies, this is an area, please look into the area where, the need is more than giving the same people, same privileges, because some of the policies are aimed at the same people and certain this thing, but it has to be reached out to the unreached. That's what the thrust is that. These studies open up possibilities of testing the validity of the assumptions that must necessarily make the planner setting up approximate ultimate objectives. Again, this is related to that, how a planner can open up, test it, validate it, and then take it as a policy. So this has to be all these qualities, a thing which is unexplored, an issue or a result should be very much needed to the society and need to be tested and validated. Then no one can question it, like, why you have done it. So this facility researchers should provide. And again, it's a continuation of estimate the possible consequences and cost of the different choices available to them. The researcher won't give this cost analysis, but it should have a potential so that the planner designs all these things and formulate into action. And diagnostic studies suggested where and why particular projects go wrong. I'm talking about the welfare projects. Some of the projects are good, some others still need some revision. And a researcher's role comes in here. If any government is bringing into the welfare policies, researchers should be able to tell, look, this policy needs some revision. It has to be looked in different perspective than the existing one. And how to make it more reachable and useful for the people, community concerned. Wide dissemination of social sciences research findings increases general awareness in respect of the situation to be met, as well as policy designated for the purpose. So if you are studying a policy, I think some of research scholars want to study on some policies of government, on tribal policies or thing. But when you are doing it, you do with the purpose of making it a difference, and the findings should increase general awareness in respect of the situation and policy for which the policy is designated. So looking from people's perspective is an answer for it, not from policy perspective, not from the bottom up approach, from the top approach, but from the bottom up approach, from people's point of view. What are the challenges for social sciences? Next thing. Yeah, and all this journey I'm talking about is not so smooth for social sciences, because several hurdles are there in the journey, because lack of information and some courage needed to point out, and some exploring things. We don't find answers, we don't find much information, and this lack of several things are there. I will just see how what are the challenges. Social phenomena tend to be transient. What level can seek to identify the laws of social sciences? See, if you are working on a theory-based or prevailing laws-based study, from where you have to pick up that? This is a challenge in front of the researcher. How robust are the laws of social science to their own discovery? See, everything is transient. I'm talking about everything is changing from time to time. See, one law cannot be applicable to the other law, or the other period, other situations, other communities, other places. So the validity of that has to be judged by them. The ethical dimensions of manipulative controls and treatments when we apply the standard methods of science to social phenomena. So science, you don't have much problem in finding a solution for experimenting it and all. But social phenomena, some manipulations will be there because your own bias comes in a way, and others' bias, the information which you get, you can't say that, from a government person, if you want to take an information, they give as per their own knowledge as well as their own needs. If a social activist, if you go there, it will be critical. So whom to believe? This is a question. Whether to follow the government or to follow the activist or to follow a theorist. So this judgment has to be made by the researcher while doing the research. And we can refrain from all these biases and make our own challenge thing. Another one is concept of global village. So now we are talking about global village. Everything is globalization, liberalization, policies, and a decade of it, 2 decades of it, and you have seen the changes. The survival of fittest thousands of years ago is now again came in by our way, contemporary world. The how much you know the IT, knowledge, technology, you are the first in the race. Those who trail back will be trailed back forever. Universities are forced to adopt this online courses, MOOCs courses. I'm not using the force, but they have to go in like guidelines. UGC guidelines are giving that online courses, offer online courses. And sometimes the online courses become imperative in view of the pandemics. The pandemics gave us, demolished the existing domains and gave way for the new opportunities. One of that opportunity, if we call them opportunity, it is an opportunity, online activities. Online teaching, Open University is going for online classes. And now we are developing MOOCs courses. So these are the inevitable inventions due to the pandemics or due to the technological innovations. So this IT, who have the higher levels of IT will greater leverage. And earlier, it used to be the concept of state, the nation, and these terms, because all the research is concentrated more upon the nation, more upon the state, more upon the place we belong, but now everything is a village. It's a global village. You are not belong to one particular nation, you are not belong to one particular state. So everything has come to a where you want to identify yourselves in keeping in view of the global context. So this is how it's a big challenge when you go for the regional studies, and when you have to incorporate all these aspects into your study and study more, learn more about the happenings around you. Another challenge is ideological divides. See, we used to talk more about socialism, capitalism, the economic determinants, and the Karl Marx theory, and all this, the Hegel, and we are not listening to them these days. So I'm not saying they're disappeared, they're withering slowly and giving rise to the materialistic and cultural achievements. So cultural aspects which we have long back forgotten, we have dismissed. We are proud of the culture, but not burdened by the culture. Am I making it a sense? సాంస్కృతిక వారసత్వం పట్ల చాలా గర్వంగా ఉండే పరిస్థితి నుంచి సాంస్కృతిక వారసత్వం ఒక బర్డెన్గా అయ్యే పరిస్థితికి దిగజారుతున్నాం. ఎందుకు చేస్తున్నాం అట్లా? And a religious symbol is pertain to the family or it pertain to the individual, but nation is adopting it now. See the change? A kind of your personal belief systems, your knowledge systems, your this thing, కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఎ ఫైట్. మనము ఏదైతే ఏ వృత్తి అయితే నిన్ను తక్కువ చేసిందో ఆ వృత్తి నుంచి బయటపడి ఒక సోషలిస్టిక్ వరల్డ్లోకి వచ్చి కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ తీసుకొని ఆన్ పార్ విత్ అదర్స్ అవుదాం అనుకుంటే ప్రభుత్వమే పాలసీస్ని ఆ వృత్తి కులాలకి వాళ్ళకి చేయడం మొదలుపెట్టింది. అంటే ఇన్ ఎ వే ఐఎమ్ నాట్ ఫైండింగ్ ఎ ఫాల్ట్, యాక్చువల్లీ ఐఎమ్ జస్ట్ మేకింగ్ ఎ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇన్ ద క్యాపిటలిజం, ఇన్ హ్యూమనిజం. కమ్యూనలిజంని మనం తీవ్రంగా వ్యతిరేకించాం బిపిన్ చంద్ర అనాలిసిస్లో. ఉండకూడదు, చరిత్రలో ఉండకూడదు కమ్యూనలిజం. ఒక బయట వాళ్ళు ముస్లిమ్స్ వచ్చి దురాక్రమణ చేశారు, అన్ని విషయాలు పరదా లాంటివన్నీ ఇక్కడే ఉన్నాయి అని ఒక బయాసెస్ని రిమూవ్ చేసాం మనం. ఇట్స్ స్ట్రాంగ్ అని ప్రూవ్ చేసాం హిస్టరీలో. నో, ఇన్హరెంట్ సోషల్ సిస్టమ్స్ ఆర్ రెస్పాన్సిబుల్, నాట్ ద అవుట్సైడర్స్. They have assimilated into our life, cultural life. But it's we who are again going back to the biases. ఇది మనము ఎందుకు అర్థం చేసుకోవాలంటే దీస్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ ఆర్ గివింగ్ వే ఫర్ మెటీరియల్ అండ్ యూ హ్యావ్ సీన్ ద ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్. నేను చెప్తే మీరు అర్థం చేసుకునడం కాదు, మీ లైఫ్స్లో మీరు చూసిందే. జనరేషన్స్ టు జనరేషన్ హౌ ద వాల్యూస్ అండ్ ఎథిక్స్ అండ్ దే ఆర్ జస్ట్ దే ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మింగ్. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ సెయింగ్ దిగజారుతున్నాయి, నేను ఎప్పుడు చెప్పను, మారుతున్నాయి. మారుతున్న విలువలు అవన్నీ కల్చరల్ ఎథిక్స్, ఇథోస్ ఎటు మారుతున్నాయి అనేది అనాలిసిస్ చేయడమే సోషల్ సైన్స్ రీసెర్చర్ పని. ఆ తప్పు ఇది ఒప్పు అని చెప్పడం మళ్ళీ బయాసే, సబ్జెక్టివిటీ. సో ఎందుకు ఏ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ ఎర్లియర్ డిటర్మిన్ చేసినాయి, ఏ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ ఇప్పుడు మనం అర్థం చేసుకొని మనం అడాప్ట్ చేసుకోవాలి. సో దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ again disjunction of social science with the creative society and social aspirations. మనం ఏం సొసైటీని ఎట్లా చూస్తున్నామో స్టేటిక్గా చూస్తున్నారు కొంతమంది రీసెర్చర్స్. దట్ ఈస్ వన్ ఛాలెంజ్ అండ్ లిమిటేషన్స్, బట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ అ డైనమిక్ సొసైటీ, ఎవర్ చేంజింగ్. Continue to stand on theoretical analysis tool from Western countries. This is big problem in social science. We find local solutions in Western countries. For example, caste analysis. So how even we have Indian scientists, social scientists, Ambedkar, and several other theorians. But some blockage, mental blockage is there in adopting them. For gender questions, Ambedkar propagated caste analysis, caste in India, genesis and mechanism. He found out the relation between the caste system and the patriarchy, relation between the women's subordination and the Brahmanism. So this kind of theory is not being taken forward by our social scientists. Even as students, we didn't know it when we were students. But when we went back to the higher portals of higher education, we realized this, how consciously some knowledge is being deprived to the students. When we started reading all the alternative theorists, the great leaders, then we realized how all the society has been focused in a similar lines. We are finding solutions for local problems with the Western concepts. Still, this is again, there is no correlation between the movements, professional research as well as the social science movements. There are movements for the voting rights, there are movements for the caste inequalities, there are movements for the gender inequalities, but the movements are keeping away themselves there and the research is here. So a joint should be linked, a link to be established between these movements and this. So coming to the last part of it, I won't test your patience further. Social research, what we have discussed so far is mainly explanatory under certain conditions, and it can also be diagnostic, such as policy alternatives and towards a desirable and unknown with the help of the major consequences also. Sharpen the tools and define his focus on the approach, whatever the social scientists are there. Determination with dedication. So I'm talking about the pain and the passion, determination with the dedication. Final analysis judged by the quality of our research. We are judged by the quality of our research, not how much pages you have written. 300-400 పేజీలు రాస్తే జడ్జ్ చేయలేము దాన్ని. ఒక 200 100 క్వాలిటీ ఉందా లేదా, దట్స్ హౌ. I have read about some one-page thesis submitted by one scholar that contains a lot science. So here we need to be, the quality is a parameter of the research. Need to test knowledge with our dreams, match our knowledge with the movements and people's aspiration. Thank you so much for your patience hearing.